Let's settle for the details. The Joint Task Force Against Illegal Mining has declared an unrelenting war on illegal miners operating in Ghana's water bodies, vowing to continue the operations until the polluted waters are restored. Commander Colonel Eric Tinadu says the task force, consisting of fully armed soldiers, is determined to come through every water body in the country dealing with individuals mining illegally. Marshal Agbagba was on the scene with the task force yesterday as they destroyed mining equipment on the Brim River and came to with this report.
Time check is about 4:29 a.m. The weather is still not cleared up yet, but as you can see, more than 5 pickups filled up with military men are heading to various illegal mining sites in the country, but they're fully armed to the teeth, and we're told that this is part of government's enhanced program to combat illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, which has dominated the conversation in the last weeks.
Well, so in some minutes, the military is going to blow up that earth-moving machine that was being used to mine in this forest, and the access to lie down this way, and that is what they're going to use to blow up this machine. He's counting down 3, and then he'll blow it up. It's going to be so loud.
This is not a war zone. The explosion you just heard was from soldiers using explosives to destroy an excavator in the forest near the Brim River.
Explosion that just happened here, and one of the soldiers tells me that there's nothing that can be done about this machine again. It can never be used again.
Other equipment, including water pumps and champagne machines belonging to illegal miners, were also destroyed and set ablaze.
Part of the marching orders to the military on this Operation Halt campaign against illegal mining is to destroy every illegal mining equipment used in mining in water bodies. And that is exactly what personnel here on the ground are doing.
The journey through the thick forest was long, as soldiers searched for illegal mining sites along water bodies. With the help of drones, they were able to locate and target these sites.
This is the heavily polluted River Brim, looking very brownish in color. It is a reflection of the state of Ghana's water bodies. And this is what is getting a lot of people infuriated, including organized labor, demanding action to end illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, in Ghana's water bodies and forest reserves.
You can see that the water is very, very, very heavily polluted.
The chairman of the Eastern Region Ghana National Small-Scale Miners Association, Mohamed Alwa, expressed deep concern about the continuous pollution of water bodies caused by illegal miners.
The water is very, very, very heavily polluted. As a result of that, you can see the color of the water have changed drastically, and it's something that is very bad. If you look at the water, how they polluted it, the illegal miners polluted it, it's not good. Actually, the state of the waters are bad. We are happy with what the government is doing now, collaborating with the small-scale mining. We are very, very happy. I'm sure it will bear a very nice, beautiful results, and I'm sure things will go smoothly with what we are doing. By putting blanket ban on all small-scale mining or all mining in Ghana, especially with the small-scale mining, is something that we are thinking that it's not the right way. Because it's not the right way, because the livelihood of a lot of Ghanaians depend on the small-scale mining. Yes, some people may be polluting the water, but those are the illegal ones. We should talk about those ones so that we can flush them out and the water will be clean.
So you have a task force, the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. You have a task force. Yes, sir. Yeah. It appears your task force is unable to achieve much when it comes to the fight against illegal mining.
We have achieved a lot when you first launched the task force. But the problem we have now is finance, and we need backing of the government, actually. Now that the government is backing us, I'm sure we can go far. We can go far with the operation.
Now I'm in a naval boat with military personnel on the Brim River, heading towards a site where several champagne machines are operating. The soldiers are tasked with destroying all of them. And here, they did exactly that. Using large hammers, the soldiers destroyed the champagne machines that illegal miners were using to extract gold from the river. It is part of their mandate to destroy any equipment involved in illegal mining on water bodies in the country. The commander of the Joint Task Force Operation Halt 2, Colonel Eric Tinudu, says the main focus of the current operation is to stop the water pollution caused by the illegal miners.
In all, we were able to destroy about 18 champagnes that were on the water bodies, and then about 10 machines, water pumping machines also on the water bodies. This is an effort to help bring back the color of our water bodies, and so it will continue. Just like I said, today is the first day, tomorrow will continue, but then I'm unable to tell you where we are going tomorrow. When it's time, I'll let you know. But for now, all that I can say is that we are going to all the water bodies. We have started from Brim. Tomorrow we'll go to another location, and then we'll continue until we cover all the water bodies in the country. And hopefully we want to see a change in the color of our water bodies.
So Operation Halt 2, is it restricted just to water bodies or forest to mining in the forest too? You'll have to.
Okay, Operation Halt 2 comprises water bodies and the forest. Okay. Basically, it's about anti-illegal mining activities. And wherever that activity is going on, we are supposed to act on it. But for now, the directive and the instructions we have for this first phase is on water bodies. Okay. Strictly on water bodies for now. And then after this phase, maybe the next phase, I don't know yet. If we are directed to go into the forest, then we are going to the forest. But for this first phase, it's on the water bodies. Well, for now, so like I said, this is the first phase. So the first phase is 2 weeks. Maybe after that, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, until all the water bodies are covered. But then I have told you that we are covering all the water bodies. And so if we don't finish, I'm not sure we will stop until we are able to cover the water bodies, and then we send the message that we want to send and get our water back. Okay. This one too, I said it earlier, that while going forward, we try to cover our back. So we get some standby patrol team that from time to time, they'll go and patrol the areas that we have covered already.
So this was yesterday, and today the task force is back and protecting the water bodies and also getting rid of all illegal miners in the catchment areas that they are visiting. Also on the streets of Accra today, the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra, the bishops, the knights and ladies of Marshall, everybody, they were on the streets of Accra protesting and demanding government action on the subject of illegal mining. We'll bring you that report shortly, but it is back, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. After a 4-year break, the Joy Sports Invitation Tournament is making its much anticipated return, ready to ignite the passion of corporate sports enthusiasts across Ghana, from dazzling display of corporate colors to the electrifying energy of non-stop cheering, to the CEO's penalty shootout, men's football competition, women penalty shootout, mixed 4x100 relay, basketball shooting, mixed volleyball, women's 500-meter dash, men 100 meters, mixed sack relay, lime and spoon relay, Scrabble, arm wrestling, and many more. Mark your calendar for this Saturday, October 26, 2024, at the University of Ghana Stadium, Legon, will be transformed into a vibrant arena of competition and corporate pride. And if you want to register your corporate organization for the Joy Corporate Sports Invitational Tournament, please call Stephen on 050106466. That's 054-010-646. The Joy Sports Invitation Tournament. As always, is brought to you by Joy Sports. Joy Sports Play for Peace. And we've got interesting sponsors for this exciting event on the 26th of October. Now, let's move to your election headquarters. And remember, the Electoral Commission is beginning the printing of notice of poll. Already, errors in name, spelling, issues with some party symbols caused a delay in the printing of the Electoral Commission's notice of poll for the December 7 general election. According to a statement from the EC, the printing of the notice of poll for both the presidential and parliamentary elections is scheduled to begin today, Friday. It's unclear whether it's underway. However, the actual printing of ballot papers will only commence after the Commission provide ballot statistics to all candidates, political parties, and printing houses. But before the commencement of the exercise today, some representatives of some of the political parties raised issues with the process. And Deputy Director of Elections with the NDC, Dr. Rashid Tanko, explains more.
Just closed a meeting with the Electoral Commission right now with my other colleagues on the issue of the notice of polls that they are going to print. We've just signed off a sample of the notices of poll. So as we speak now, printing has not commenced because there are some few corrections they need to put. My other colleagues have issues with their symbols. Some has issues with their spelling of their candidate's name. So because of that, they have to go and do some corrections on them before they can now proceed with the printing. Like we rightly put, we have no issues with the printing of the notice of poll. It's just the corrections, which we have just done right now. Just close the meeting with them. We have no issue. Our issues with them was about the printing of the ballot papers, which their initial letter sought to indicate that they wanted to go ahead with the printing of the ballot papers, of which we have issues and told them that could not be the case because you don't just print ballot papers without a document that is the certified voters register and then the statistics therein before the printing can commence. So that is our issue, and thank God they have come to clarify that they won't go ahead with the printing of the ballot papers. And so with that one, we are good to go. We believe that Ghanaians should be thankful of NDC Eagle Eye that is always putting the Electoral Commission on check to make sure that they do the right thing.
With these errors that you say you have provided details so that they could be corrected, would it mean that indeed the printing of notices will still commence today or at a later date?
I believe they might not be able to proceed with the printing today unless they are able to do those corrections. Ideally, the NDC, we didn't have issues. Our candidate details looks okay. Our symbol was okay. His name was properly spelled. And then the picture was fine. The same thing to our main opponents too. I think they also signed. They didn't have any issues with that. I think about two candidates, they had issues. Alan Akufo-Addo, they had issue with their symbol, and then I think the colors. And then that of one other independent. And so they had issues. That's the one the Electoral Commission to rectify so that they can proceed. And that is the essence. That's why we told them that we needed to have this meeting today. So that we can look at it, because agents cannot take decision of this nature. So they indicated they will go and do the corrections before they proceed. So if they're able to do the correction to the satisfaction of those two candidates, well, why not? They can proceed. And they told us they are printing 500 each for every constituency.
So we wait to hear from the Electoral Commission whether the exercise is ongoing in view of the errors identified and the EC's commitment to resolve them before the printing of the notice of poll. Now, with just 58 days remaining until this year's general election, the United Nations has ramped up its engagement with key stakeholders to ensure a peaceful, credible, and transparent electoral process. Charles Abani, the resident coordinator of the United Nations in Ghana, has a team of about 26 UN agencies, funds, and programs. He has been engaging with key stakeholders. He joins me via Zoom to provide details on the UN's role regarding the December 7, 2024 elections. Mr. Abani, it's a pleasure to have you here on the post. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. So first let me ask, what has the UN gathered from its engagement with key stakeholders concerning the pre-election arrangements, by the electoral body especially, and the other actors involved in this game?
Thank you for your comments, and we're excited too that Ghana is at this point of election, something that it has done successfully over many years. The nature of the UN's engagement is guided by a number of principles. So I just thought maybe I should set these out because it would be helpful.
Absolutely.
The first is that we don't have a formal elections program unless we conduct a national assessment mission. And the assessment, if we were to conduct one, it would be at the invitation of Ghana to do so. The last time there was a national assessment mission was 2017. And since then, Ghana has not requested for the 2020 or the upcoming 2024 elections for a national assessment which would then, within its framework, identify a program of work that we could call an elections program. However, having said that, of course, we are keenly interested in ensuring that we find ways to support Ghana to deliver a free, transparent, fair, peaceful election process. And effectively, we are working using existing programs and existing mechanisms that we have in place to provide this support. So, of course, ahead of the kind of coming up with the key areas of work that we're interested in, we did consult with a raft of agencies, and those consultations are ongoing. Just so I give you the headlines of the 4 key areas of work that the UN is working on. The first is peace.
Right.
And of course, you will be aware that we have an I Pledge for Peace campaign linked to the National Peace Council, and which is widely subscribed to and runs on social media by the United Nations Information Service and the Peace Council. And so ensuring peaceful elections and the peaceful resolution of any differences. Democracy is a process by which people disagree about things, but obviously need to agree and ultimately, through voting, decide who will lead them. And so one of our key things that in this process, we should not see violence, we should see peaceful dialogue. So peace is the first of those. The second pillar that we're keen to support is inclusion, making sure that everybody is able to participate in the elections, that nobody's left behind, that women, that young people are properly registered, who are eligible to vote. And of course, persons with disability have access to be able to be included. The third area is ensuring that temperate language and behavior. So the whole area of misinformation, disinformation, and I guess at its worst case, hate speech.
Right.
That we are working in ways to build capacity to ensure that the media is functioning in a way that it's not stoking the fires and it's operating professionally as it has done. And also to protect the safety of journalists in this critical time.
Right.
So on the one hand, make sure that nobody's instrumentalizing the media in the wrong way, so professional training and support, but also that nothing untowards happens to journalists as well. Safety of journalists is a key banner thing that we speak about. And the fourth area is what we call good offices. And this is something the UN plays in a number of spaces, which is basically using the good offices of the UN, acting neutrally and staying out of the fray of the politics to help to convene, facilitate conversations that lead to an amicable outcome for the general election.
All right.
Because obviously Ghana stands at the top there.
All right.
So just to respond specifically to your question, who have we spoken to? We've spoken, of course, to the EC, to the Electoral Commission. We've spoken to NCC. We've spoken to SHRAJ. We, of course, have programs with the National Peace Council that UNDP helped set up many years ago, and a raft of stakeholders, the IGP. And some of those consultations are still ongoing. We're expecting the senior special representative for the Secretary General from UNOAS to come in at the end of the month, and those dialogues will continue with political parties We have met with one of the flag bearers, but not the other. So those processes will continue. Conversations with the bilaterals and the diplomatic community. You will know that the UN is an international organization,
right,
not a diplomatic mission. So those conversations are all ongoing with the view that we have a peaceful election that is inclusive, eschewing hate speech and any disinformation, and one that hopefully the Ghanaian people who this election is about are able to believe in.
All right, let me come in here, a few questions here. So these 4 broad areas, are they outside what ordinarily should have been a request for a national assessment plan? Is that the understanding I should get?
So a national assessment mission, and I'm not a technical person on an assessment mission, would have looked at various aspects of the electoral process and come up with recommendations that would have been made to government across a broad set of areas, which would then have formed the basis for an elections response program. And so the absence of a mission means that formally we don't have a response program, because we would do the assessment and then concurrently with the different stakeholders agree a raft of support in different areas, for instance, around civic education, with the Electoral Commission, potentially with the National Media Commission, SHRAJ, and the raft of actors who would play a role. Of course, that didn't happen, but we have remained open where requested to provide specific support to any of those agencies. And so let me share, for example, that the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, working with UNESCO, UN Women, and UNFPA, have provided a raft of training on media freedoms, preventing hate speech, incitement. We have a program. We have programs around peace building in the North implemented by UNDP and UNFPA, which continue to infuse the message around peaceful elections.
Right.
We have, with the Small Arms Commission, strengthening their capacity and supporting their campaigns around non-violence and no use of small arms during the election process. So we still have a raft of activities that are going on, but none in a kind of formal program of work that you can call an elections program.
I get it. So now let's localize the discussion and, of course, look at concerns that have come up as we head towards the December 7th elections. The major opposition party, in this case, the NDC, for example, has raised concerns about the voters register. How have these issues come up in your discussion with the Electoral Commission and stakeholders? And what is the UN stance on these matters? Because quite clearly, the NDC views every step taken by the Electoral Commission with suspicion. I'm wondering how in your deliberation, whether these matters have come up and what is their assurance to create a enabling environment for everybody to have trust in the process?
Thank you. So we have had these discussions, and the SRSG for West Africa and a very senior official from the political division in New York have visited with me the EC, where to the extent that we were aware of issues and concerns, we raised them and put them on the table. I also attend sessions organized through the diplomatic community and the heads of mission, where various issues are being presented to the Electoral Commissioner and the Electoral Commission, and they have responded accordingly. We have held numerous meetings where we pointed out, for instance, to NMC, the National Media Commission, the importance of not having any kind, undertaking processes in a transparent way. If for instance, they need to regulate any of the media outlets, that they must do so in a transparent. So certainly passing those messages along. We're aware that different parties, notably the NDC, have specific concerns that we think need to be addressed. And certainly we encourage the mechanisms that are in place and being used to negotiate those with respect to Ghana's own institutions to be able to do so. We observe in IPAC the various activities taking place in IPAC, and we encourage all the institutions to be responsive to the concerns that are laid before them. And for those who are, I guess, making concerns available, to provide the evidence to support those claims, and for those things to be discussed through the existing mechanisms. For example, since you have raised the issue, we're aware and we're very keen to see a peace pact signed.
Right.
And there are conditions that are being put in place. And again, we encourage the actors, I think the principal actor here is the National Peace Council, to look at these genuinely and to, broker the discussion and the conversation around this. And certainly under the good offices work of the UN that will take place whenever the SRSG visits. The next time will be at the end of this month that we're in October. Of course, these issues will be re-raised with all the stakeholders with a view to increasing the confidence of all the parties who are involved in the election around the sort of integrity of the process. We wouldn't comment specifically on one view or another. I think that's a matter of national concern.
Right.
But essentially, I think that we certainly support the rights of political parties, entities, indeed citizens, to be able to raise their concerns. And we've said, and even I think last weekend I issued a statement on some of the protests to say, listen, protesters, please be peaceful. Police authorities continue to maintain professionalism, create the environment in which the conversations that need to be had can be had in a way that builds Ghana and builds on Ghana's extremely outstanding success over many years and builds Ghana forward.
All right. So given the importance of protecting peace during and after the election, especially in light of West Africa's declining democratic capacity, what step, for example, is the UN taking beyond stakeholder engagement to help safeguard the peace Ghana has had and is still enjoying?
First of all, I think, again, let's emphasize that the peace in Ghana is something that I think many countries in the sub-region and in the region is a point of envy and a point of pride. And I've said that this does not happen by magic. It happens because a raft of institutions come together and work in consensus, from the Peace Council through traditional institutions, through religious and faith-based organizations and the various arms of government, Ministry of Interior, National Security, and all the parastatals. So it's a collective effort and certainly something not to be taken for granted. We know what the implications would be if Ghana slides on peace. And so we stand ready, and there are a number of missions that will come through Ghana to provide assessments and support in relation to this across the board, from human rights through to the Office of Counterterrorism. And we have an Office of Counterterrorism. The Executive Director will be here sometime before the elections. I can't give you an exact date.
Right.
But again, looking at it more from the Sahel point of view on what are the vulnerabilities that Ghana could face around this, and what efforts are being made to strengthen, for instance, the Accra Initiative and a number of other efforts that are already in place and have a lot of, if you like, local ownership. We will also, of course, work with the various missions who come here to observe the elections. We know that the Commonwealth Secretariat will be doing one. We witnessed and heard the preparations from the ECOWAS Commission. We expect an African Union one. And but let me also state that under these current circumstances, and of course all the civil society groups, the work of Cordeo and other actors in this space, we will not have a formal mission, and we don't have formal observation missions except in extreme contexts for which Ghana would not qualify. Right. Ghana is a stable and peaceful environment, and therefore we don't expect. However, we will participate and accompany these processes, and should the need arise for the UN to make a statement regarding any of these processes, of course, we will be available to do so in concert with the diplomatic community and in the best interest of Ghana.
Mr. Charles Samani, before I let you go, I mean, Ghana adopted constitutional rule in 1992, over 30 years. And within the period, we have had 8 elections. 2 of them, there was a challenge on it. It ended up at the Supreme Court. The court pronounced, judgment on it, and life was back to normal. We'll be entering our 9th election since we adopted constitutional rule in 1992. From your own observation post, for somebody who probably is listening to us for the very first time outside of Ghana, the feeling may be that the country, the fever is high. There's so much tension in the country, but we here in Ghana, obviously, is going about our duties, even though we have 57 days to the elections. Are there gray areas that perhaps we can, iron them out, fix them ahead of the elections? Or if you are to advise, you will say that everything is normal. You expect the Ghanaian to go to the polls, elect whoever he wants to elect. You expect the Electoral Commission to be as neutral and as transparent as possible. And we expect the political parties to play according to the rules and regulations governing the conduct of the elections.
Yes, thank you. So I'm optimistic, and I can't be anything but optimistic for Ghana. As I said, Ghana's track record in this area is, impeccable as it gets on the continent in which we all live. I think the idea that an election will go hitch-free and event-free is probably a bit utopian. And therefore, nobody's saying, I think, that there won't be some kinds of actions. It relies on every Ghanaian working together collectively to achieve that. And so I think certainly we stand ready, and we particularly call on the national institutions to play their role impartially, whether this is the Electoral Commission itself, SHRAJ, the National Media Commission, all those National Peace Council, to play their role impartially and to lead that conversation as we move towards the elections. So I can't say that there won't be some incident or activity, or indeed in relation to the current electoral list, where there are questions being raised about the validity of the actual list itself and the audit process is going on. I think these are wholly legitimate concerns that are being raised, as long as they're addressed, that overall we're heading for an election that is consistent with Ghana's history. We know that at the last election there were issues of violence which sadly resulted in the death of individuals. We hope that this does not repeat itself. We have met, and certainly my senior colleagues who have been through country, we have met repeatedly with different parts of the law enforcement agencies, particularly with the IGP, to both state that this is our expectation, and to receive assurances, which we have received, that this shouldn't repeat itself. So clearly, I think a sense of positivity and optimism is what we come with, mindful that it is a contest, and therefore some of the tensions in the space are legitimate, as everybody seeks to get a free, fair, transparent, peaceful election process to be completed, and that we are all working within the ambits of the law to achieve this. There are some issues that are intractable over time. For example, women's representation, and I think it's worth saying that we may not see the same levels of women participation. That all depends on the electorate. But I think these are the issues to work on after the election. How can we get political parties using the affirmative action bill that has recently been passed to find ways and mechanisms to really ensure that women's participation, particularly in the elections, not just as voters, they are significant, they are the largest form of number of voters, but in terms of being able to contest, that we see Ghana move up the equality ladder towards I guess, equal representation in the parliament.
All right.
But we recognize that this is a journey.
All right, thank you so much.
Ghana is on this.
All right, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Abani, UN United Nations representative here in Ghana. And we'll be looking at events ahead of the 2024 elections. We're going to take a short break here on the pulse. When we return, we'll talk about the Catholic Church demonstration against illegal mining today when we return. You're welcome back. Now, let's talk about our earlier story about the demonstration that took place in Accra today, and dozens of people joined the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra to undertake what they call prayer protest against illegal mining, commonly known as Galamsey. The march was preceded by a service of preparation at the Holy Spirit Cathedral at Asylum down here in Accra. The march attracted Catholic worshippers, environmentalists, activists, and members of the public, all united in their call to end the destruction caused by illegal mining. During the service, Reverend Father Godwin Fiawayi addressed the congregation, calling for divine intervention in the fight against environmental degradation. Kenneth Jesse marched with them. They have this afternoon petitioned President Akufo-Addo to declare a state of emergency over Galamsey amidst the devastating effects illegal mining is having on the country's water bodies and natural resources. Kenneth was with them, and this is what he brought us.
Well, the long journey that started from Holy Spirit Cathedral at Adabraka has terminated here at the Christ the King Parish Church, which is just opposite the Jubilee House, where they expected to present a petition to the seat of government. And this is an unprecedented prayer walk. They walk through many principal streets of the capital. A lot of people, not only Catholics though, many people from all walks of life, civil society organizations, all walking, engaging in this prayer walk. And the message is simple. They want an end to illegal mining. They want the planet to be saved. And I have one of the Reverend Fathers here with me who will be speaking to me briefly. Reverend Father, this is the termination point. What are we to expect?
Well, it's been a very great day of display of faith that, you know, when it comes to difficulty, we must let God do what he has to do and man do what we are being called also to do. So we have gotten to the culmination point, but we are now going to celebrate the Holy Eucharist. And this is where the petitions are going to be done. We're going to petition God, we're going to petition the President, and we're going to petition Ghanaians. 3 petitions. So we are gathering there at the grotto for the petition. And we are also opposite the Jubilee House, and a representative has been chosen to do the presentation to the presidency and then to us. Yes, right.
Okay, so as we speak, we are waiting for the representative from the president to come and receive the petition, or the petition will be sent straight to them?
Well, as far as we were concerned, you had agreed that we will get into the presidency. But well, if they are by their protocols and security, they would want to come to us, all well and good. It's a message that we want to make to Ghanaians. But I think all well-meaning Ghanaians will understand, whether they come or we go, what it means, that if they will allow us to come, what it means, if they would come to us, what it means. Discerning minds will have to judge.
This is, as I mentioned earlier, an unprecedented move by the church, the Catholic Church. Tell us, what really was the motivation behind this?
The motivation is that we have never seen this kind of damage, carnage, ecocide, degradation in our country before. Therefore, it takes drastic, situation calls for drastic measures. And this is nothing but a drastic prayer response. So it is, though unprecedented, it is very common for us to do such prayer expose during the month of October.
Respectfully, kindly give me your name and your...
My name is Reverend Father Raymond Oseitutu, the Chancellor for the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra, who organizing this program in conjunction with the Conference of Major Superiors of Ghana.
Okay, thank you very much. And as I mentioned, it's not only the Catholic Church that is engaging in this. We have CSOs who are also part of this, and one of them is Crusaders Against Corruption. I have the Chief Crusader, Emmanuel Wilson, with me. Emmanuel, you have championed, you have called for an end to Galamsey. We're being told to go inside now, but as you walk with me, Emmanuel, why did you decide to join the Catholic in this march?
Well, clearly speaking, we've gotten to a dispensation where, whether we like it or not, the issue of Galamsey has become a life-threatening issue. And it affects each and every one of us, whether you are a Catholic or not a Catholic. I see it more of a call, citizens' call. Fortunately, it is the religious organization led by the Catholic in Greater Accra that are leading it. But it doesn't mean to us that it is limited only to the Catholics. Right. It is for all of us, and that's why Crusaders Against Corruption, we decided to be part of it. And we've been part of the work simply because we know that whether we join the work today or we don't join it, the effect of Galamsey will catch up with all of us.
Okay. Would you say that other denominations should follow what the Catholic Church has done and organize series of prayer walks like this to drum home the concerns, really? Because the church has some of the largest number of congregants in this country, would you say?
One of the reasons why we decided to join was that over the past period, we've said to ourselves that the religious organizations, the churches in Ghana, have been very silent and they have really disappointed us. We have the perception and the belief that things of this nature, governance, because the churches have been so quiet, we've messed up a lot. And that is the reason why, indeed, when we were coming, one thing that was going through my mind was, I'm a Baptist. So I was asking myself, will my denomination, the leadership, take up this and also decide that probably next week or next 2 weeks, they are going to do the same. So clearly, if you ask me, I hope and believe that, or wish, that all the denominations, the Baptists, the Presbyterians, the Apostolic, all of them you can think of, even the Muslim faith, I expect and hope that they will be having series of such work.
Right. Finally, the president just yesterday delegated about 100 soldiers to key Galamsey areas. They've started burning champagnes, excavators as a way to curb the illegal mining menace. Do you think it's a good move? I understand that they are beginning to submit the petition. So briefly, tell me.
I think that the president is just going over something that never worked. And so it is actually a waste of time. He should have gone about it in a better way.
Emmanuel Wilson, thank you very much. Let's now get closer to the leadership of the church, who we understand is presenting the petition to
Of course, we'll bring you more of the demonstration and the presentation of the petition to the presidency on Prime and, of course, also on Top Story on Joy 99.7 FM. But let's talk about education now. The Ghana Teacher Prize was held last week at the KNUST to select Ghana's most outstanding teachers. Now, on the pause today, we'll get to hear from the winner and her closest contenders for the award. They are in the studio here with me as we take a look at the profession and what the award, how that will inspire them to go forward even more. So, Fuseina, is that? Okay, Fuseini. Okay. Ghana's most outstanding teacher 2024. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir. All
right. And of course, Richard Kojo Adumakon is first runners up Ghana's most outstanding teacher 2024. Richard, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations as well.
Thank you.
And then Diana Rose Elom Adonu, first runners up Ghana's most outstanding teacher. So second runner. So you came third. So first, second, third in that order. Yeah. Again, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So let me start with Fuseina overall. I mean, where are you coming from?
Okay, thank you so much. I was born in Ketekrachi, a village called Ketekrachi in the Oti region of Ghana, where I attended my basic education, my primary education, my junior high and my senior high school, all in Ketekrachi. Then I proceeded to St. Monica's College of Education, Asante Mampo, where
my hometown is not far from Mampo, in Suita. You can actually walk from Suita to Mampo.
Okay. So from Mampo, then I proceeded to University of Education, Winneba. And that has been the journey. Today we are here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So where are you residing and where do you teach now?
Okay, so I am a teacher at Medina SDA Basic School.
Here in Accra?
Yeah, here in Accra. A KG teacher.
Okay.
I've been teaching the kindergarten for 15 years. Yes, please.
And so for how long have you also been in the teaching profession?
26 years.
Wow.
Yes, professionally. And I'm coming from Udara Basic School and the Armed Forces Education Unit. So you can tell of the discipline level and how you need to work. Yeah.
And how long?
7 years experience from Every Girls Senior High School.
Every Girls?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, I mean, How does it make you feel to be recognized for all the work you've put in the last few years?
It's a great feeling now. It's something that I have, I would say that has added value to my life. And I'm sure that this recognition is going to inspire more and more teachers, especially the women. Yes.
Is this something you've always wanted to do?
Teaching.
Teaching.
Yes. Growing up in Ketekrachi, where it's a community where a lot of teachers were there in that community, and the volume of the respect that they carried, the joy of seeing teachers in that community all the time, and the fact that most of my family members are teachers, and I think that they inspire, they motivate people in the community, they direct people in the community, and the joy that comes with teaching, the passion that they had from day one. And being a young lady at that time, a Muslim young lady, seeing, young girls getting married at a very tender age, I said, okay, what can I do? I was thinking of becoming a lawyer.
Right.
Yes, so that I think that I can help the vulnerable in the society. But I also thought that teaching is also another channel that your voice could be heard, and you can also inspire young ladies.
Okay.
Yes, to move away from the system where they would say that I don't want to get married at a very younger or tender age. But I think that if we say now is like this today, I can also be somebody tomorrow.
So Richard, let me also come to your journey so far. How has it been?
It's not been without challenges.
Of course.
It's been very tough, but with that kind of resilience, I've been able to sail through. So being at the barracks all my life, I studied right from 2 Brigade Basic School, and I'm back at 2 Brigade through Udara, still teaching. And for the past 26 years, I've always loved to see joy on the faces of my pupils. And like my sister is just saying, getting this recognition will help me, give me that further impetus or encouragement to mentor and be an example to other teachers. Then to also to have that leverage to project my project. Because I have a project I'm working on currently, which I call the DGLO, Digital Library on Wheels, Digital Ghana Library on Wheels. So in partnership with Ghana Library Authority, that is Dr. Hayford Siao's department, we're able to reach out to people, orphanages, those in the remotest areas with their vans. And this will give me the leverage to expand it and reach out. Then again, to promote STEM education.
Right.
Because I have that technical background, especially females in STEM education.
Okay. So Diana, 7 years in the profession already, you've been recognized for your hard work and dedication. Has it been smooth sailing, or there have been challenges that you've managed to overcome?
I would say I'm very much privileged, because I know a lot of people have tried this severally, but this is my first chance. And God's grace, I was able to sail through with just 7 years of experience. This is an encouragement to the young ones who have just entered the teaching service for 2 or 3 years, that they can also make it. It's not about waiting for 20 years before, but in your corner, or wherever place you are teaching, you can make an impact to go beyond.
And are you able to tell us how you got recognized and then to come up to this international stage?
Actually, I'm a home economics teacher, but then sailing through the robotics, junior achievement, and then SAGE. It is surprising to people, how come a home economics teacher paving way for students through robotics? I could remember the senior house mistress, Ms. Daziok, asking me to take the students out for the first time, a home economics teacher. I said, okay,
to take them out to where?
Yes, to take them for a robotics competition for the first time.
A home economics teacher doing so, something that should be done by a science teacher or something.
I was happy. I just wanted to venture into something new. So I went for the first time. We were second, and then at Galaxy International. It never deterred me, because I love what they were doing. Innovation, coding, programming, trying to solve problems. And we are now in the 21st century.
Right.
So that is one of their goals for GES, training our children to meet up to the 21st century skills. So I find myself blessed to have gone through that, guiding them, training them to be able to win great awards scholarships and sponsorships up to now.
Fusena, are you able to tell us some success stories from the classroom that possibly the reason why it's keeping you still in the classroom?
Okay, so like I said, I've been teaching for 19 years, but specifically 15 years in the kindergarten. So the 4 years were primary, but the 15 years I'm still counting.
They call it the early childhood development.
Early childhood education, yes, please. And so with the new curriculum, we used to have the subject-based teaching.
Okay. And
with the introduction of the new curriculum in 2019, where the curriculum was changed to a sustainable, the new curriculum supports play, where we have to integrate play in whatever we do. So I think that with my learners, what I do different, or what I do that brings this recognition, is the fact that I'm able to inculcate play, I'm able to spark their curiosity, I'm able to make them become critical thinkers, problem solvers, because I think that what we are doing now, what the curriculum supports, is that the learners shouldn't leave whatever they learn in the classroom. We are training them to become responsible adults later in life, to be able to transfer learning from the classroom into the environment. And to be able to become that, we will have to get, inculcate creativity, innovations, critical thinking, support their curiosity, their communications, and all that. So I think that...
But the kind of students you are bringing up, and listening to them, see them adopt to what you are teaching them, do they give you the impression that they are ready for the current change in the world?
They do. They do. Because gone are the days where we use the teacher-centered approach, where the teacher will have to go to the classroom and do all the talking and get so exhausted, at the end of the day even transferring his or her anger onto the child. But this time it's a child-centered approach. So I give them the opportunity to explore. I give them the opportunity to play, because that play is a purposeful play. It's not just a play. And every child loves to play.
Sure.
And so I see the joy in them. That's always make me do more things to encourage them to bring out their inner creativity.
Let me bring in Rachel. Rachel, so about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I hosted the public affairs director of WAEC in the city. It was after they had concluded the WASI.
Yes.
And in the course of our discussions, it came up about the role some teachers play in helping the students write the exam, and that some teachers were even arrested in that process.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 things came to mind. One is the fact that maybe they didn't prepare the students well, or perhaps they themselves were not up to the task of preparing the students for the exam. So therefore the question is, so as a teacher, how then do you measure success in the impartation of knowledge to your students?
Okay, thank you. I think personally, now that we are promoting inclusive education, not necessarily maybe the child getting all the A's or all the ones in the end of year exam or whatever, but if even you're able to transform the person to a certain stage,
right?
Now it is the 3 H's, using the head, the hands, and the heart. That's why I'm not always activate. Not only the academic way, the child can also come out to create something. So here, teachers who normally do that, when you are caught, you are interdicted.
Of course.
But we should also inculcate in them a sense of responsibility.
Right.
Teach them well, let them enjoy the teaching. And if they get the concept, what else? Differentiated learning now is focused on the child, anchored on the 4 P's. So you look at the process, you look at the product, you look at everything about the child. So here, I don't go with the fact that a teacher should rather give foreign materials to, no, it's a no-no. You teach them, let them enjoy the concept. If they get the concept well, they'll be able to reproduce. Other than that, at the end, you get them, they will come out, and assuming they are doctors and nurses, and you go there, are you safe?
Yeah.
You are not.
You are not. And then you raise a very important person about encouraging them to think on their own. And in the environment that you teach, does the environment support such an initiative?
Yes, armed forces, we have an ultra-modern STEM facility there where we have ICT equipment. So you give them the chance to also explore on their own. And we even expose them to real life situations. Our school is close to Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, the emergency unit. Sometimes when we are crossing, the rate at which the drivers ply, 6 girls came out with a brilliant idea. They developed a road safety device with a siren, and now walk past. It's beautiful. So that has inspired others. They are intelligent. They are creative. We need to give them the opportunity, guide them, and they are good to go.
But Diana, you know that teaching, I mean, the role of a teacher, I mean, it's not a finality to whatever you are doing. There's a limit to which you can do. The community has a role to play. Yeah. So in doing your work, I mean, how involved is the community in giving that holistic education to the child?
Okay, I can remember one time we had a competition in agriculture, or agri-based competition. And you know, the students cannot get everything within the school system. So we needed to ask permission to get to a farm, Lebanon farm in Ebri. And so they went on the farm, and then the resource person took them through how the farming is done. Right. So that practically they understand. Then when they go for the pitching, they are able to tell them the realities on the ground. And they were actually using the idea to come out with a robot for farming that would expedite farming processes. So that's one of the ways the community have an impact in the schools.
Okay. So we are talking about the teachers that came on top in the just ended award for teachers, and of course in the studio, the overall winner for saying the first runners up, Richard Kojo, and of course Diana, who came third. And we are looking at the best way out and how they hope to use the award that they've won to lead change and to improve the teaching environment. You will do your part. You will do your part. But what changes do you want to see done, especially from policymakers, all the way from the government to the ministry to the Ghana Education Service?
Okay, so I think so far so good. Now there's so much improvement in the educational sector. Those days we used not to pay attention to early childhood education. Right. And now you can see that there's so much priority. There's so much priority in early childhood education, meaning that policymakers, stakeholders, everybody is doing his part to make sure that we all get there, because we've come to realize that the foundation stage, that is the kindergarten, is the root. And so if we build it well, we're going to stand well as a country, and Ghana is going to become the industrialized learning nation that we are all hoping to see one day. I think that what I think can be added, little adjustments, maybe resources. Some of the resources that we have in the classrooms are limited. We are in Accra. We have people, we have teachers in the rural communities that do not even have access at all. I am lucky. I think I have a computer set in my class because I was fortunate to have been selected to attend an NGO program, a pilot program that supports integration of ICT with the new curriculum. And so I was given a computer set, I was given some tangibles, which are the building blocks where learners can actually have it at the construction center in the classroom. You know, at the kindergarten, we have centers in the classroom to make sure that we are able to build their confidence, we are able to bring out their innovations, we are able to bring out their creativity. And I think that all these things matter in the classroom. There are resources in the environment that can be found with no cost at all. But there are also resources that we, of course, have to use money to buy. And so our teachers, you know, sometimes look at our pockets. I
was coming to that. Motivation is also very important. Incentive to encourage you to even do more. Better salaries, better conditions of service.
So I like the resources is one. And I think that we should also, we are trying as a nation now, because I think that the new curriculum supports what we call the PLC, Professional Learning Community. Or we have it every week. It's on a weekly basis, and we are getting to learn from each other. The fact that you're a teacher doesn't mean that you know everything, but when you meet in a week during the professional learning communities, I think that we are able to bring out ideas, we share ideas, and we all learn from each other. And I think that something more can be done to kind of motivate.
Of course.
Because sometimes when you meet people bring their ideas, I think that these resources will match this particular topic or strand, that will match this particular topic or strand, but where are the resources? Where are the TLRs? Where are the teaching learner resources? So these are some of the things that I think as a nation we have to pay
attention to.
Yes, please.
Let me bring in Richard as we begin to wrap up on this. So how are you hoping to use the award to influence positive change in our society?
From a TVET background, like I said earlier, mostly when it's time for the pupils to select senior high school of their choice, you normally see parents coming in, they all shy away from those technical programs. But with those achievements we were able to make through the girls winning national awards in STEM, now we are getting them. And I have to commend.
But then also, there's also the overly concentration on STEM.
Yes.
So
okay, but TVET is also gaining grounds.
Right.
TVET is also coming in. And I think here the minister must be commended because you can see how he's transforming these public institutions. He's doing very well, and now he's encouraging more people to also get in there. It's difficult. I know we are not there yet. We still need more resources. But I think the country is moving in that direction. That will really help us grow.
Diana, so what advice would you give to young teachers starting their career?
Starting from my experience,
right,
7 years. I think gone were the days where people thought it is about having 20, 30, 40 years.
Before you can make an
long
impact.
service, and people were actually ignored or taken out. But this is a credible competition whereby 2 years, 3 years, 4 years experience stand a chance of going through the competition. So my advice is brighten your corner where you are, and then definitely you'll make it through.
All right, the best teachers we have in the country at the very moment. Fusena, Richard, and Diana, thank you so much for coming through, and wish you the very best as we impart the next generation of leaders.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, so in an increasingly digitized world, digital inclusion is crucial for young people to access education, employment, and participate fully in society. However, a significant digital divide persists, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where unequal access to digital tools such as smartphones, computers, and the internet limit opportunities. This conversation will explore Ghana's digital landscape, focusing on available regulation, government initiative, and policies aimed at bridging the gap. Key policies include Ghana Digital Roadmap, which seeks to ensure digital skills for youth, and data protection, which safeguards data privacy and security in the digital space. Let's have a quick conversation on this matter. And Ali Ibrahim, National Network of Youth Groups President, joins on this. Ali, so tell us more about this.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, so if you can let us in on...
much.
Yeah, so what does this digital inclusion mean in the context of Ghanaian youth?
Okay, so thank you so much, and good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners and everybody watching us. The project actually is born from a training that we had in Accra, and we thought it wise that it is important that we share our knowledge with the general public. And so that was what brought about this Safeguarding Youth Digital Inclusion project. As you indicated, increasingly we are having a digital divide in Ghana, and we are not seeing so much effort from the government perspective and other stakeholder perspective to addressing the issue. And so there was a need for us to strengthen conversation, youth voices on the issue, so that we will see how government and other developmental partners will increase investment in this area to get young people participate and harness the opportunities that the digital space provides. And so that was what brought about the conversation on this particular Safeguarding Youth Digital Policy.
In areas such as education, employment, and civic participation.
Yes, exactly. So we're generally looking at how government will increase investment in these areas. And it is very important that we take key look at the digital divide and how it is costing us so much. We are seeing an increasing youth unemployment in all fronts. And we are not seeing so much from our leaders how they want to solve some of these unemployment situation. But the digital space provides us with a lot of opportunities for young people to get employment, to increase their learning in terms of education, and then wherever they are should be able to access employment across the globe. Because we are digital natives. And since we are digital natives, we want to see how our leaders are using this space or harnessing the opportunities within this space. If we want to go back, I think 2023, there was a survey by the Ghana Statistical Service that is showing so much worrying trend in terms of the digital divide. We have so much digital divide in the country that so many areas, even within the greater Accra, the greater Kumasi, the greater Tamale, and other key capital areas do not have internet access. So we are looking at how can we call ourselves digital natives, considering the population of the youth within Ghana. And we don't have so much infrastructure that we can leverage on to harness these opportunities. So it calls for worry. And so we thought it wise to have a general conversation so that the CSO space, the media space, and other key stakeholders will also amplify their voices on this matter, so that collectively we'll see how government will churn out policies and programs that will help the young people in this space. As it stands now, we do not have a national policy that is guiding our digital space. We do not have that. We have some pieces of information and framework that is guiding other areas like the cyber security, the data protection areas, but we do not have a framework that we can say this is the roadmap that Ghana is following in order to harness the opportunities within the digital space. It's a huge gap. And so for so many years now that we're experiencing so much of this digital divide, and we do not have some of these policies. It's a cause for worry. So that is why we are increasing our voices in this particular regard.
All right, let's leave it here. And I guess your recommendation is that we have a policy to regulate this sector. Thank you very much, Ali Ibrahim, for this conversation on digital space. We'll take a short break and return with our education on breast cancer. Well, we are back for our final conversation here on The Pulse. It's Friday, so as usual, we give you something for you to chew on as you enjoy that weekend. Now, we are still in the month of October, so breast cancer will not go away on the table, and where we are putting the spotlight on breast cancer. The monthly popularly referred to as the Pink October, people around the world adopt the pink color and display a ribbon to raise awareness about breast health. So on the show today, we are bringing you all the education that you need to combat breast cancer. And as always, Dr. Josephine Awochukwu is my guest in the studio. You're welcome.
Thank you, Elson.
And I hope you are doing well.
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing good too. So last week you laid the foundation about what it is, the age bracket that you need to look out for, and when you look out for what you need to do going forward. Perhaps you can refresh our memory in summarizing the things that we spoke about last week before we move into the issues of national statistics, the treatment plan, and what happens after treatment.
Okay, so we spoke about what breast cancer was. That means cancer in the breast, in parts of the breast. And we spoke about the fact that it's bimodal. Usually after the age of 50 and 70 are the highest peak.
50 years to 70 years.
They have the highest peak. But then again, it starts more from 40. But then you get the highest peaks at age 50 and 70. But that doesn't mean that you can't get it when you are younger. We spoke about the fact that you need to be aware of your breast, examine your breast. We spoke about screening, the fact that when you hit the age of 40, you should undergo annual mammogram so that you can catch it early and get treated. So basically, that's a summary of what we spoke about last week.
I'm wondering whether we have national statistics on breast cancer.
We do, because in 2020, the statistics we gathered stated that about 4,500 Ghanaians, 4,500 Ghanaians were diagnosed with breast cancer, and about half of them died from the disease. But we should know that in our part of the world, that it wouldn't be very accurate.
This actually reported cases.
This is reported because we have a registry, we have a cancer registry. So we keep records of all the various cancers. But you know, that is only the cases that we see in the hospital. That's the ones that we can capture. But looking at the health-seeking behaviors of Ghanaians and our health challenges, we know that some of them will end up in prayer camps. Some will end up
those you don't
forever.
have
Those
the
ones
numbers
will not
to add it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but this is coming from the cancer registry, and this is from those who sought for, you know, healthcare, and then at the end of the day was registered that they were diagnosed or died from breast cancer.
So the number could be higher.
It could be, and I believe it is way higher because we won't capture. I mean, I know there are lots of people in the villages who don't have access to healthcare. Some people will resort to herbal medication. Some will go to prayer camps. All those ones, we wouldn't catch them.
So for the number that we can account for, what was the mortality rate?
About half, 50% of
wow.
Them. Yes.
That's huge.
Yes. In Ghana
I mean, if you contract, the chances of surviving become less, or it's 50-50?
It's just because of the fact that we catch them very late. It's just because we don't get it really early. And when they start, people wait in the sometimes even when they come to the hospital and want to take away their breast, they'll tell you their husband doesn't want to agree to the removal of their breast. They don't want to lose their breast. By the time they will agree, it would be too late.
But at what point would we come to such a decision?
Like I was saying last week, it depends on the stage of the breast. Sometimes when you come very early, sometimes just lumpectomy, which means just the removal of the lump, may just be okay. Sometimes you remove it and you add a bit of radiation, may be okay. Sometimes you need to remove the whole breast. Sometimes not just the whole breast. You have to do something we call axillary clearance. You have to remove the lymph nodes. Sometimes you do that with chemo, with radiotherapy. They have to put everything together in order to come up with a perfect cocktail for you based on the stage and the grade of your condition.
And the thing is that if you come to such a decision that you need to remove the breast, and it's not done, chances are that, I mean...
Yes, because the disease will keep spreading, because cancer doesn't wait. It keeps getting worse. So the more you delay, the more, you know, you...
Is there a case where the two breasts have all been removed as a result of breast cancer?
That is unless you have both of them happening at the same time. I mean, especially in the more advanced countries, when somebody gets breast, some people can maybe get a small breast, and they would want to remove the whole breast tissue in order to avoid the recurrence, and they would do breast reconstruction. So sometimes maybe somebody gets one because the chances of getting in the other one is high. When you talk about the risk factors of breast cancer is having gotten one prior.
Okay.
So you hardly see them happening together, but one can get one and later get in the other breast. But for some people, in order to be safe, when they will rather remove and do reconstructive surgery, okay, plastic surgery, in order to protect themselves from breast cancer.
Well, we are live on our social media handles. If you have a question, this is the right time to do. If you want some expert advice on the issue we are discussing, breast cancer, please leave your comments or questions on our social media handles, Facebook, YouTube, X Spaces, and of course, myjournalline.com. Somebody's asking if there's a family history of breast cancer. Should that person be worried?
Yes. So when we talk about the risk factors of breast cancer, family history is very huge on it. So if you have, let's say, a close family member like your mom or your sister maybe dying or contracting breast cancer, it increases your chances by 4.
By 4?
Yes. And then if you have a third person, it increases your chances by 5. And sometimes not just breast cancer alone. Maybe your sister had ovarian cancer, your mother had breast cancer. The fact that I have a family history
of cancer,
ovarian cancer, can also make you get breast cancer. And then sometimes it depends on the age the person contracted it. If the person got it less than the age of 50, you are more at risk because we have sporadic cases where the person just got it. But the ones with family history tend to get it at a younger age than the sporadic cases. So if the family member contracted at a younger age, yes, it increases your risk as well. And we have, genetically, we have some people who are prone to cancers. So in advanced country, they can actually screen you to see if you have that kind of genes. So we have some genetic codes, the BRCA1, BRCA2, P10, all those things can be checked. People with those kind of mutations are at the increased risk of getting not just breast cancer, but other cancers as well.
I want to ask about, I mean, you referenced that if you are a lady in 40 and above, you should begin to undergo certain checks on a regular basis to be sure of. So for the bracket that are below age 40, how often do we see breast cancer in such age category? below age 40?
We do see. I've actually seen one at the age of 13 before.
13 years?
16 years with breast
13 years, the breast hasn't developed even to the extent where...
I've seen one before. I've seen 16 years before. I've seen 21. When I was in Kolebu, I saw quite weird, cases. But then, again, it doesn't, the fact that you see it more in the older ladies doesn't mean that you can't get it when you are younger. The only thing is, it's not as common. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Just like we say in the cases of the men can get it. Okay, although it is rare, doesn't mean that it's impossible.
It's not possible. So for the 16 and the 13, what possibly could be the cause?
It could be family history, or it could be exposure to radiation, probably at a very early age. It could be, there are lots of things. So the thing about cancer is we don't have direct causes. We have risk factors. So a lot of things can predispose you to it. It could be just a family history. Maybe you have very strong, mutation in the family that predisposes them to cancer. So you realize that there are some people, somebody will get breast, a cousin, someone has gotten ovarian cancer, somebody has gotten prostate cancer, colon. You realize that, and we have some cancers that are in, we group them particularly, like when you have that kind of mutation, there are some group of cancers that you could get, yes. So the family history and genetics play a very huge role in it, and we don't have control over them. Okay,
so let's set aside the family history. What are some of the other risks that I should look out for? For example, if I'm exposed to some chemicals, if I'm exposed to something, can that speed it up? Does it matter the kind of food I eat, the clothes I wear, and all those things?
Okay, so when we look at the risk factors, now we've looked at the family history and the fact that the gender bit, we have exposure to hormones, okay, as one of the major causes of or risk factors of breast cancer. So when you have sex hormone, like as a woman, at a particular age, you get exposed to hormones. Okay. So when you start having your menstruation, so the higher exposure increases your risk. So if you start having your menses early, or you have your menopause late, you don't give birth early, and all that, that means that you had a higher exposure to these hormones, because when you get pregnant, you break off the hormones for some time. Right. If you don't start your menses early, that means that it has reduced your period of exposure. If you have your menopause early, it has reduced your exposure. So late menopause, early menstruation, nulliparity, that means you're not having a child, or you start giving birth, late, all risk factors.
And late as in what age exactly?
Well, 30, 35, that means it's about the exposure. You being exposed to the sex hormones for a very long time. And even during menopause, when you enter into a state of menopause, some people go back by going back on steroids, hormone replacement therapy, increases your risk. Even taking oral contraceptives for a very long time because they are steroids, it increases your risk. So the exposure to those hormones increases your risk of having breast cancer. And then, like you were saying, some carcinogens and radiation exposure can also expose you. That is why when it comes to x-rays and things like that, we sort of limit it unless it is very necessary, because being exposed to radiation on your chest, repeated exposure, can increase your chances. Carcinogen, a lot of chemicals that we call carcinogens that can cause you to have not just breast cancer, but other cancers as well. And then when we look at lifestyle, we look at diet, obesity,
what kind of
alcohol.
Diet? Any diet?
We advocate for diet that is rich in fiber, more of the grains, and then we prefer vegetables, fruits, like we always advocate, less of the saturated fats rather, and then we advocate for the monosaturated ones as well. So you have to check your diet, and then you have to control your alcohol intake as well. Sedentary lifestyle, it's like cancers in general, all these things can predispose you to getting.
Somebody's asking the cream that some ladies use for their body on their breast, could that also be a factor that one must be concerned with?
Some of the creams contain estrogens. Okay, some of the creams contain hormones, like the estrogens that we're talking about. So if your cream contains either a chemical that is a carcinogen or high amount of estrogen, and you use it over a long period.
And for somebody who may not understand the terms you are using.
So carcinogen is a chemical that can induce cancer, and there are lots of them, okay?
But if you are buying such cream, they don't write on it that you should be worried using this can expose you to this or that.
Most of the time.
So for the lay person who may not have the education to be able to identify and stay out, what must that person do in this circumstance?
So for the carcinogens, we hardly will you find carcinogens in your cream. It happens to more, when you go to, let's say, fuel station and you are inhaling a lot of all these fuel, that is where you can get exposed to some carcinogens. Or maybe, let's say, some fumes, like high concentration of fumes. Most of the carcinogen, nobody would purposely put it in a cream or something. Usually, it's a form of pollution in a way.
What about chemicals that could result in the bleaching of the skin?
So that I was coming to that. Most of the time, it is the hormones, the estrogens, okay? Because sometimes it makes the skin look supple and all that. So anything that is a steroid, actually they end with the estrogen, like or not all of them, most the estradiol, those things. You have to look at them because it can nourish you, make you feel better. Most of these are locally made products that can bleach people. Most of them can contain some estrogens and all that because repeated, I'm not saying don't take it, but then the repeated because our body produces it, we are exposed to it.
Right.
But then continued or repeated exposures can be detrimental to you.
I'm getting a lot of comments here. Somebody's talking about bra and how long must you wear it? Can brazier contribute to it?
Those are myths. Those are myths. It doesn't contribute to breast cancer. However, you have to make sure that you get a correct size. Most women don't know their bra sizes. Whatever thing they get, they wear. So you have to go to a shop that can actually measure your bra size, measure your cap size, because some people don't. So it's either too big or too small, and it doesn't support the breast wall, but will not necessarily cause you to but it will be uncomfortable for you and you can develop all sorts of things around your breast, but not necessarily breast cancer.
So next week we'll bring some survivors to tell their story. But before we get to that next week, and of course also bring on those who are already in hospital going through this challenge, perhaps another question that people are sending me, what happens after treatment?
Okay, so after treatment, after going through all this, we hope that you go into remission.
What is that?
Going into remission means that you are cured and we don't have any trace of cancer cells. And we have people going into remission and then we just get follow-up, put them on medication and follow them up. Sometimes you go through your treatment and then the treatment fails.
And then you're back to zero?
Yes, that means that we couldn't cure you.
So the treatment is not 100% proof?
No, and based on the stage, sometimes it's just palliative, sometimes just to reduce the burden. Based on the stage at which the disease was found, maybe you may not be fully treated. It's not possible to fully treat you because maybe it has already spread, but we are trying to prolong your lifespan. Maybe instead of dying in 6 months, we want to give you 2 years. So we reduce the disease burden. Sometimes the treatment is palliative just to make you feel comfortable until death knocks on your door.
So it is not certain that even though you detected it early, you went to hospital, you started treatment, it is not certain that you'll be out of it 100%.
When it is early, that's why I said it depends on this. When it is early, then you can be cured.
Okay.
Okay, when it is early, then that's why we advocate that we catch it early, then you can be cured. But then I'm saying that based on the state you are in, it would depend, because some people get full. You see, those who don't recover fully are the ones that the thing has started spreading and you want to get rid of it. But if it is something very small, removal of it, you are fine. But if it's already started spreading, then we can only hope that after your therapy, you go into remission. But there are cases that you finish and then you test and you still find some cancer cells. That way, we just put you on medications to maybe slow down the growth and all that. You keep seeing your doctor. It's about prolonging your lifespan for you. That doesn't mean that the disease is not there, but there are sometimes that you go into remission, they test, and you're cancer-free. Okay, so it depends. That's why we advocate that you catch it early, because the earlier you catch it, the better the outcome for you.
My final question, but I've just got a text. Somebody's asking that somebody who has been diagnosed at an early stage and the person is breastfeeding, can she still go ahead and breastfeed the child?
No, because of the medications that they would be given, because of the chemo medications, most of the time you can't lactate. So usually you talk to your doctor about it. So they will discuss all the treatment modalities for you, that maybe you are breastfeeding, this medication might not be good for the child, because if the child should partake of it, it will be very detrimental because the medications are harsh. Okay, and if you have to go through radiation, the radiation itself is going to sort of burn out a lot of cells, and if it's a surgery too, so based on your doctor will discuss it at length with you, but most of the time it's likely that baby has to be on formula.
Even though every woman is prone to it, some will go through life without any sign of it at all.
Yes.
Final question. So what are the proactive factors for breast cancer that we should take away as we head towards the weekend?
Okay. So if you have family history, you shouldn't joke with your screenings. Make sure that you get your annual mammograms so that if it should happen, you should catch it early. Secondly, you should make sure that the exposure to the radiation, to the steroids, although we don't have control over it, giving birth early is protective. Okay, and then breastfeeding your child fully is also very protective. And for environmental factors, good diet, moderate intake of alcohol, being active, exercising, all very important. So let's take all these things into consideration. Let's take care of ourselves and live.
Next week, perhaps, we can also talk about the fact that, I mean, I text I'm gotten, maybe next week we'll spend more time to deal with it. I mean, you mentioned, for example, late stage in giving birth could be, you know, a risk factor. But I know technology has made it such that people can have children without the natural way of going through it. And so maybe next week we can talk about, in that case, are you safe 100% from anything of a sort if late stage in giving birth is what you are worried about?
Let's say going through IVF.
Exactly.
Provided you are carrying the baby, you see, even if you didn't go through the normal process, and then it is your own, maybe you're carrying the baby and going through the state of pregnancy, the body will adjust the pregnancy state, and then you wouldn't be like somebody who is having the menses in and out. So you are still pregnant.
All right. Final words before we go.
Okay. So breast cancer is real. There are ways you can protect yourself. But the most important thing, like I said last week, is breast awareness. Please know your breast, catch it early so that you can live longer. Thank you.
All right, so Dr. Josephine Awachukweku has been my guest, and next week, hopefully, we'll bring you some survivor story and for those who are also going through treatment at some of the hospitals. But for more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, stories on myjoyonline.com. There you have it. Bank of Ghana orders Kwauman Hene to resign as ADB board chair over alleged 2 million Ghana cedis extortion. More stories on myjoyonline.com. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead this weekend, I hope it's profitable. Next week, Monday, we shall be here with another exciting edition of The Post. Until then, my name is Elton Brobe. Good evening.